Most upside in rounds 4 through 6 based on current Fantasy Pros PPR average draft position. And with a quick disclaimer that Dalvin Cook and Joe Mixon, I did not include them in this discussion. I think you can make easy cases for them, but obviously their values are going to change once we get a clearer picture. So, Jamie, I'll let you go first. We both have wide receivers that are going in round 4, and you have the duo of Christian Watson and Drake London. You say, it's basically the same argument for both of them. You're looking at Watson, who's going 42nd overall, London 50th overall. I guess that's actually round 5. Which player do you think, which year 2 wide receiver, Watson or London, has more upside?
I think it's Watson, but it's they're so similar. It's kind of why I gave those guys to you in the same range. I think you look at, you have inexperienced quarterbacks, you have some flashes of, I don't want to say brilliance, but certainly productive performances in the rookie campaigns. And we know how some of these guys do based on some of the rookie success, how that typically carries over. And I think they both have a chance. I think the biggest difference would be is that for Watson, he's competing with I don't want to say lesser talent, but it's kind of lesser talent. When you look at, Reed and Dobbs and the other guys that are at least currently there in Green Bay. Whereas, when you talk about Drake London, 2 other first-round picks are going to command touches. Now, obviously, Aaron Jones can command touches, but Kyle Pitts being there, I think, is a potential problem. And everything that we saw Drake London really do at the end of the season when he was playing with Desmond Ridder, that 4-game stretch, there was no Kyle Pitts there. So I'll give a slight nod to Christian Watson. I think he's going to be one of the more popular players. And I think what we'll end up seeing with both of these guys is the players that get drafted around them. And you look at some of the names, you're going to bring up one yourself in DeAndre Hopkins. Older receiver, questionable quarterbacks, guys that are sort of, also Rams that we've, kind of drafted in this range over and over again that we think might still be good. Keenan Allen is a name I'll throw out there because I still like him, but those type of guys that we still have some hope for. Chris Godwin, these type of players that quarterbacks are questionable. Why not take a shot on the second year guy that may just blow up, and that's the hope. So I think both are very encouraging. I think you'll end up seeing Watson probably creep into the 3rd round by the time we're done with drafts in August, and I think Drake London will definitely be a 4th round pick.
Watson in the 3rd round. I don't know. I mean, I'm just not sure. It's obviously just going to depend on Love, right? I mean, on Jordan Love, and
all you need is Love.
All you need is Love. Yeah, I think comparing these 2 guys, Watson and London, to Keenan Allen is so fascinating because Allen right now, I mean, if he just does what he did last year and what he's done every single year basically of his career, he's one of the biggest steals. He's a 4th round pick. He's 43rd overall on Fantasy Pros. Who would you take? Okay, actually, put it this way. Does the choice between Christian Watson, Drake London, and Keenan Allen, is it at all affected by what you've done in the first 3 rounds? In other words, I need a home run swing now. I can't take Keenan Allen. He's at best wide receiver 12 probably. But he's obviously got a higher floor. Does it matter to you what your current roster is when you make that decision?
I guess you could take that into account. If you probably go a little bit riskier in the first 2 rounds, you might want a little bit of a safer floor, like you said, with Allen. I like Allen better personally, just because I think, as you said, what he's done, and I love the setup that Justin Herbert, I think, is going to be a big bounce back. We'll talk about him in a second. But also with Kellen Moore there, just knowing that I don't think Allen is affected by Quentin Johnston. I think it's more Mike Williams is affected by that. So to me, Allen is still very safe, but you have to factor in age and clearly the fact that he missed some time last year as well. So yes, if everybody hits, Christian Watson should be better than Keenan Allen because I think he'll score more touchdowns, but I don't think he's going to come close to him in terms of receptions. There could be I don't want to say a 30 reception gap, but at least a 20 reception gap between those guys. And the same thing with Drake London. If you were to, if the Falcons were to come out in camp and say, we're going to play faster, we're going to throw the ball a little bit more, we want to be more up-tempo, more of at least a balanced offense, I think Drake London could be a monster. But you know what the case is. I mean, Arthur Smith isn't going to do that and change the way that this offense looks. So I think his upside is a little bit capped. But again, guys that I would like to have on my fantasy team. If you tell me that I can go back-to-back rounds 3 and round 4, assuming Keenan Allen's gone, of Christian Watson and Drake London, low floor potentially, but huge ceiling as well. So I don't mind taking that type of risk.
Boy, I do. I think in rounds 3 and 4, if you told me rounds 4 and 5, which is their current ADP, I could get much more on board.
Well, yes, I think you would prefer that. But I guess what I'm getting at is that if you want to take Christian Watson, I really think we're going to see him climb into round 3. I just think that by the time we get to when all these drafts are happening, probably the quarterbacks may change that. So maybe take that into account when they get all pushed up into the first couple of rounds, first 3 rounds. So maybe that pushes them into round 4 in terms of ADP. But I think when you start to see receiver heavy drafts, Christian Watson's going to be in that mix of the 3rd round guys.
Yeah, first of all, I want to read a comment here from our chat from Aldwin. If the stream finishes and nobody's internet cuts out, I will make 17 new YouTube accounts and like and subscribe to a month's worth of videos.
So
that'd be great. I think you're in good shape today. I think we'll be able to pull it up. Just kidding. I'm good.
Good.
Yeah, sorry. You want to go to let's go to Hopkins here because he's obviously in this range too. He's my guy. So you said Watson and London are guys you're highlighting for upside. Like Hopkins, there's just no argument against his upside. Last year he was wide receiver 9 per game, and that was with 3 touchdowns in 9 games. That was with Colt McCoy and Trace McSorley, I think, throwing 1 or 0 touchdowns. They were horrible. And he's been on pace. DeAndre Hopkins has been on pace for 170 or more targets in 5 of his last 6 seasons. He's finished top 10 per game in PPR in 6 of his last 8 seasons. The 2 exceptions were the Osweiler year and 2021, where he just didn't get that many targets. But it's not a difficult argument to make on DeAndre Hopkins. He's going 41st overall. He's going after Calvin Ridley and Amari Cooper, ahead of Christian Watson and Keenan Allen. But, look, it's simply if he doesn't get super old and if he can stay healthy, then he obviously has huge upside here. So I have a hard time passing on Hopkins, who still is performing like one of the true alpha receivers in the NFL, for Watson or London, when I think there's downside with all of them. And Hopkins is still Hopkins. Like, he's still incredible. So as of now, Jamie, it goes sort of against my fantasy philosophy of skewing young. I'm still taking Hopkins over those 2 guys. Like, I certainly can see that changing, but you probably are not.
Well, I continue to get a little bit more pessimistic about Hopkins. And I don't think your argument is wrong, but I do think that there is not necessarily a foolproof argument for his upside, because I know you like to reference this, and you started your plea for Hopkins this way about saying that he still performed at a high level with Trace McSorley and Colt McCoy. That was with a different coach. And Cliff Kingsbury's gone now, and the system is going to change. And I think they're going to be a little slower. I think there's going to be less passing. I think there's going to be maybe a potentially terrible team here. And if he stays in Arizona, this is obviously the case. So you either have trusting a new system, new coach, new everything for him with Colt McCoy and Trace McSorley, or Colt McCoy and whatever else they decide to do there, or trusting him with an injured Kyler Murray, who may not be the same. Now, yes, he should still dominate targets in this offense, but we may see a little bit of a shift because, again, it's different things in place. And for me, when it comes to this, and this is the difference between him and Keenan Allen, Allen has same quarterback, healthy, and I think upgraded system. I think this might be a downgraded system for DeAndre Hopkins. We don't know, but I'm just speculating, with a new coach that, going from an offensive-minded guy to a defensive-minded guy and a first-time, full year play caller. For me, this is like, I'd rather get out a year before as opposed to buying in still, so Dynasty, I'd be selling, if somebody's willing to buy. Now, clearly, if he goes to a Kansas City, a Buffalo, teams that he would like to, end up with, a team that could still throw the ball with a competent quarterback that's healthy, I would be perfectly fine with Hopkins still at this age, but I don't necessarily want to trust him in the spots that I have to draft him. I like that he's fallen. I think he was in that potential 3rd round conversation. Round 4, I'd be willing to buy at this point still. Round 5, I would love it. But, you tell me I have to get on him in round 3, like Dave in one of our drafts, and again, very early. But I know Dave drafted him at the 2-3 turn. And that to me is just not anything I want a part of.
So would you rather have Watson and London?
I would, at this point, take Watson. I don't know if I'm at the point yet where I would take London, but I may get there very soon.